A single dad of 6, Marcus Henderson, jumped into a lake to save a drowning 7-year-old boy. He had no idea the child's father was the president of a Hells Angels chapter, or that
I'm
this
proud to
act of
stand here with
heroism
my
would
brothers.
forever
This is
change his
family.
struggling
You're one of
family's
us now,
life,
kid.
shattering every stereotype about motorcycle clubs and proving family isn't always blood. It started
That
on
was
a
good,
hot summer
buddy.
day at the lake. Marcus,
Look at that
a
one
widower
skip
since
twice.
his wife Sarah died in a car accident 3 years earlier, managed 6 kids alone. 14-year-old Emma, 10-year-old Ben, 8-year-old twins Alex and Aiden, 6-year-old Mia, and 4-year-old Jakey. He watched them constantly, the weight of responsibility never lifting. Nearby, 23 Hells Angels from the Devil's Canyon chapter arrived on roaring Harleys. Families gave them space, but the bikers acted like any other group, fathers teaching kids to skip stones, watching their own children play in the shallows with the same protective eyes Marcus had. The club president, a massive man with a gray-streaked beard and heavy tattoos, kept watch over his 7-year-old son, Tommy. But Tommy wandered toward deeper water near some rocks where older kids jumped. A scream shattered the afternoon. Tommy was thrashing in deep water, too far out, lungs failing against the current. His father roared, "Tommy," a sound of raw terror from a man used to command. He froze, too far to reach. Marcus moved on instinct. Shoes hitting water, he plunged in. The cold shocked his lungs, the current pulled hard. His kids' voices faded as he swam, strokes strong from old high school days. Reaching Tommy, he found the boy limp, lips blue. One arm around the small chest, Marcus fought back to shore, legs burning, praying the boy would live. He carried Tommy out, water streaming off them. The Hells Angels formed a protective circle. Marcus laid the boy down and started CPR. After agonizing moments, Tommy coughed up lake water. His eyes opened. His father dropped to his knees, sobbing, cradling his son. Looking up at Marcus, eyes red, he said roughly, "Brother, you saved my boy. That makes you family. Angel family. For always." Something shifted instantly. Barriers vanished. Within days, when Marcus's old Honda died and he faced choosing between repairs or groceries for 6 kids, 3 bikers showed up in his driveway with toolboxes. They fixed it for free. Emma needed a prom dress. The club's old ladies took her shopping, treating her like their own with fierce pride. When the twins got bullied at school for their dad's soft ways, the harassment stopped cold, word spread through unseen channels. That Christmas, motorcycles rumbled down Marcus's quiet street. Riders brought gifts wrapped in newspaper and duct tape. Astronomy books for Ben, a new bike for Mia, chosen with real care. Tommy, fully recovered, became a regular at their table, teaching Jakey to fish with patience born from his own close call. Years passed. Marcus watched 15-year-old Tommy now teaching little Jakey to cast a line into the same lake. He realized saving one boy had rescued his own family from grief's isolation. He'd carried everything alone too long. Now he had brothers who showed up when it mattered. As the sun set over the water, Marcus heard Sarah's voice in the waves. He was stronger, not from doing it all himself, but from finally letting others help carry the load. The sun dipped low, painting the lake in strokes of molten gold and deep crimson. Marcus sat on the same weathered driftwood log where he'd collapsed that day years ago, knees still weak from the swim, lungs still burning with remembered effort. Tommy, now a lanky 15-year-old with the same sun-bleached hair and fearless grin, was knee-deep in the shallows, patiently showing 4-year-old Jakey how to flick his wrist just right so the line would sail out clean. "Like this, little man," Tommy said, voice carrying easily over the lapping water. "Don't muscle it. Let the rod do the work." Jakey mimicked him with fierce concentration, tongue poking out the side of his mouth, the same way Ben used to when he was learning fractions. Marcus watched, chest tight with something softer than grief for the first time in years. The twins, now taller and louder, were skipping stones farther down the beach, competing to see whose would bounce the most times. Ben, glasses still slightly crooked, sat cross-legged on a towel with an astronomy book open on his lap, occasionally glancing up to call corrections to their technique. Emma, home from her first semester of college, sprawled beside Marcus with her phone, pretending to scroll but really watching her siblings the way he used to, counting heads without thinking. The Hells Angels hadn't come en masse today. Just a few. The president, still massive, beard a little more silver now, leaned against his bike at the edge of the parking lot, arms crossed, eyes tracking Tommy the way he always did. A couple of the old ladies sat under a pop-up canopy, passing around a thermos of coffee and laughing at something one of them had said. They waved when they caught Marcus looking. He lifted a hand in return. He hadn't asked for any of it. He hadn't expected the driveway full of Harleys the day after the rescue, or the quiet offer to fix his car, no charge, brother. He hadn't expected the Christmas runs that became tradition, motorcycles rumbling into his cul-de-sac like a slow parade, saddlebags stuffed with gifts chosen with unnerving precision, new cleats for Alex after he made the soccer team, art supplies for Aiden who suddenly wanted to draw everything, a telescope for Ben that arrived the week he got an A+ in science. He hadn't expected to find himself invited to club barbecues, standing shoulder to shoulder with men whose reputations once made him steer his kids to the far side of any parking lot. But mostly he hadn't expected the small, steady things. The text at 2 a.m. from the president, "You good? Saw your lights on," when Marcus couldn't sleep after a bad dream about Sarah. The way one of the prospects started showing up every Saturday to mow the lawn because the grass was getting long and the old ladies were giving me shit about it. The quiet ride along Emma took with a couple of the girls when she was nervous about driving alone to her new campus. The night Tommy stayed late after everyone else had gone home, sitting on the porch steps with Marcus, staring at the stars and saying, almost shyly, "I still dream about the water sometimes. But when I wake up scared, I remember you were there." Makes it easier. Marcus hadn't saved just one boy that day. He'd cracked open a door he didn't know existed. The isolation that had settled over the house after Sarah died, like dust no amount of sweeping could clear, had slowly lifted. Not all at once. Not dramatically. In pieces. A fixed transmission here, a shared laugh there, a kid who suddenly had older brothers who would show up if anyone messed with them, a man who finally understood he didn't have to carry 6 futures by himself. Sarah's voice wasn't really in the waves. He knew that. But the feeling was. He was stronger. Not because he could bench press grief or outswim every current life threw at him. Not because he was some unbreakable hero. He was stronger because he'd finally stopped trying to be the only one holding everything together. Because he'd let strangers become brothers, let leather vests and loud pipes become part of the background music of their lives, let gratitude rewrite the rules of who got to help and who got to be helped. Tommy whooped as Jakey's bobber dipped. The little boy yanked too hard, the line snapped taut and then went slack. Both of them dissolved into laughter. Marcus smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached his eyes, and felt the last stubborn knot in his chest loosen. The sun slipped below the horizon. The lake turned silver black. Somewhere nearby a Harley engine rumbled to life, low and familiar, like a heartbeat. Marcus stood, brushed sand from his jeans, and walked toward the water to join his kids. He wasn't alone anymore, and for the first time in a long time, that felt like the biggest victory of all.